Christmas, everyone. Welcome to the Christmas Countdown Show, episode number 203. 203, not 203. That would be amazing if we had 203 episodes. This is like a TV thing that when you go into a season 2 of something, you make it like 203 as opposed to like episode 3.
Because you want to distinguish for people so
Yes.
they know what season we're talking about. And for the layperson, they might see 203 and go, wow,
They've done
these guys have been at it
203
forever.
episodes.
Because
I wonder if
really
that's how it
obsessed.
started. Like in the TV world of like, if we make the episode number, 305 for season 3, episode 5, people will think, whoa, they made 305 episodes.
It's like when you get new checks and they're like, do you want to start with check 1 or 1,000? Oh, I want to start with 1,000,
Absolutely.
baby. Yeah, I want people to think I got so much money. I've paid thousands of people before they got this one check from me. I know that's what we did with our business account.
We did. We did indeed.
So if
did
you
we
receive
tell
a check
people?
from us,
Did we tell people about our Christmas business account? How it was Chris Mad.
It was Chris Mad.
Did we talk about that on one of the stocking stuffer?
We did it on the stocking stuffer
okay.
episode where the banker, God bless his heart, I think he was more excited by the fact that he was getting to talk to 2 podcasters.
Sure, yeah.
He was like, yeah, I'm working at this bank, but I'd rather be hosting a podcast sort of situation. I was like, well, you're making more money than we are,
You're
Curly.
doing
You've
better.
got a consistent income. Maybe stay here and do the podcast on the side. I don't want to give you career advice, but I think he was so distracted that he wasn't paying attention to how he was spelling things.
Right.
And when we got our final documents, I was like, Chris Mad countdown? He was like, oh, you're funny. I was like,
Chris Mad countdown.
I'm not joking, actually. It's Christmas. But we were pretty Chris Mad about it.
We were indeed.
I think it was me. Ding. I was more Chris Mad. You were very patient in the situation.
You knew him though peripherally,
that's
so
fair,
that I think
fair.
that may have leaned into your frustration.
Those are years that have gone by.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Speaking of, that we weren't really speaking of, but let's.
We were speaking of anything. Speaking of high school people that you don't want to talk about on your Christmas podcast.
Exactly. Today's episode is going to be top 5 destinations to go at Christmas time. Yes. This is a good one. I don't know about you, but as per the usual, it was hard to get it down to 5.
It was, which is why we're doing this Patreon thing, season 2, where it gives us the opportunity to share all those things we wanted to put on the list, but it also gives all of our fans out there who are loving this show so much the opportunity to get an extra episode every single week. So if you're like, man, I feel like there's more destinations you guys could have talked about, good news. Click the link in the episode notes, and you're going to get to join our Patreon, and you'll get a bonus episode every week.
And there's a lot of people joining the Patreon right now.
There are. It's wild, yeah.
While we're recording this episode, our first episode will have just aired.
Yeah.
And so we saw a big spike in Patreon people and
wild.
people listening. So we're excited that you're back here with us for season 2 or joining us if this is your first time.
Yeah.
We should tell people about rating and reviewing the show, which helps us, and it helps us sort of like be more present in the algorithm for other people to find us. So
I think you're talking about us personally. Right. When I know people like me, it really helps me to be more present. I don't know about you, but that's how my mental health works.
Totally. But make sure you do that on all the platforms, whether it be Apple, Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcast. Make sure you give us 5 stars if you think that we're worth that. And if you send us a review, we might even read it on the show someday.
We might. We love to read the reviews of our fans, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're listening. Apple, I think, is the only place you can actually leave a review. Everywhere you can pretty much rate, I think, up to 5 stars. But Apple is the only place you can leave a review. So if you're on Apple, while you're listening right now, leave us a review. If you're not on Apple, shoot us a DM on Instagram or email us, kringle@christmascountdownshow.com. That's the best way to connect with us directly. You can send your review and you can be put into the Santa's bag, as it were, to have your review read on the show. And this week we're actually doing something really fun, which we've never done before, I don't think, on the show. Rather than doing listener reviews, we're going to talk about some fan mail.
Fan mail. We're getting fan mail,
how
people.
How is this? This is silly. Like it's awesome, but like it's wild. We get people who will send us DMs or email us saying, "Hey, Now I found something that I think you guys would love. Where do I send that? And so we do have a PO box. So if you have some fan mail you want to send us, just send us a DM, email us, and we will send you our PO box. And these individuals did just that. I want to start with something that came to us from someone who's been listening to the show, I know, for a while, and I think actually found out about us from producer Chris. Chris, I think, was the person who introduced Laura to the show. Is that right?
It is. I knew her from my podcast, Christmas Time in the City's Instagram account. She had posted something about new Christmas content recommendations, so I steered her in this direction.
And here we are. I love that.
We're getting fan mail.
Now we're getting fan mail. So Eric, I'm going to give you this card that Laura sent us, and I'm going to sort of jingle jangle. Laura not only sent us a card, but she sent us. If you were a listener right now, this is like ASMR. What do you? I can name that gift in 3 jingles. That would be a fun game.
That would be good.
If we wrapped up gifts, and like I shook it,
and you have to guess what it is.
Or I guess Chris would have to do it because I would know what's inside of it. And it wouldn't be so much of a
we
game.
could do it for each other.
Ooh, that's fun. And I'd be like, it sounds like a gift card. So if you're a listener, I want you to. What do you think I'm jingle jangling in this little Ziploc bag right now? Because if you guessed buttons, you're correct.
You'd be right.
But if you also guessed stickers, you'd also...
Stickers don't make as much noise.
It's true.
You probably only heard the buttons, but maybe if you had that sixth sense...
Do you want to hear some stickers?
Yeah, tell me some stickers.
I don't know.
That's very ASMR.
I know.
I love that.
I'm now rubbing stickers together. It's uncomfortable.
Let's talk about the card. First of all, beautiful card. I love the card. We got some holly and some mistletoe on the front. And then there's a little cat sticker with the plaid on the back. This is a high quality card.
This is a very high quality.
I'm taking it out. Ooh, I love this card.
What does it say?
For those of you that are watching, here it is. It says, "Merry like a Hallmark Channel movie." How on brand.
That's so on brand for us. I love that.
All right, let's see. Whoa, this is long and this is good. Okay. Laura says, "Dear Danny and Eric, congratulations on having the most Yeet Bop 160K plus follower Christmas podcast to ever come dashing through the interwebs."
Wow.
Just the first sentence alone.
I feel like we could stop there.
Yes.
And,
that we got to put that on the website.
Yep.
You have jingled your way into our hearts, and I look forward to every episode. Perhaps only Santa himself could rival my enthusiasm for the sugar-coated Christmas treat that is your show. But I digress. This is also a congrats on your new collab with the Hallmark Channel. I'm a big fan, obviously, of Hallmark Channel Christmas movies because we get enough reality from real life, and sometimes a happily ever after is just what we need.
It's true.
I hope you like the pins and stickers I designed and had them printed because I wanted them to exist, and I love spreading good Christmas feels. Keep doing exactly what you're doing, making people smile and laugh like we are old friends, introducing us to hidden gems like Cow Christmas, and making sure we don't miss the next boy band Christmas special. Much love and Yuletide cheer from your _1 fangirl, but not in a creepy way, Laura Napolitano. Napolitano.
Hey.
Laura Napolitano.
I love
AKA Laura Crafts Joy.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Laura. That is the nicest card.
That's so sweet.
We're going to put this up.
Yeah.
Right now, we'll sort of like put it right here. Maybe right there.
Yeah, tuck it in.
But if other listeners send us cards, if we start to be too crowded on our little mantle here, we'll start putting them up on the walls and pinning them in.
Yes.
So please do send us Christmas cards. We'll send you the P.O. box, as Danny said, if you send us a DM. And that way you can send anything to us. And
exactly.
we would love that.
And we're not just accepting Christmas cards here at Christmas Countdown. If you have seen any photos of our new studio, and if you haven't, just go over to our Instagram. We are at Christmas Countdown Show on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, or you can follow us at XmasPod on Twitter. We post a lot of videos, photos, behind-the-scenes content with you all. We do like to do a lot of polls over there, which people seem to really dig. But we are also accepting ornaments.
Yes.
Because if you've seen these pictures of our studio or videos, we have 2 trees that are lit. But bare. They have no star, no angel on top. They have no ornaments until today.
This is an exciting
until
moment.
this moment.
What do we got here?
My brother, Matthew, who is an awesome kid. It was my birthday in August, and he just gave me my birthday gift about a week ago. And
Like brothers do.
like brothers do. And, you know, he knows that we have this Christmas podcast. He knows that we've been looking for ornaments. So my brother got me this really cool Los Angeles Dodgers ornament that's like the old sort of rustic red truck, but it's Dodger blue, and it says LA on the side. It has a big Christmas tree in the back. The only unfortunate part about this is that since he gave this to me, the Dodgers have lost every game, and they are now out of the playoffs. So hopefully,
I didn't want to bring it up.
it's okay. I'm over it. Now I can focus on Christmas, Eric,
right.
which is what it's all about. But yeah, I think, you know, it's cool. I love that the first ornament going on my tree behind me is going to be a Dodger blue ornament. So I'm going to throw that up here and give a huge thank you to Matthew. So if you want to join this cool Dodger ornament that's going on my tree, or start to fill up Eric's tree, just shoot us a DM or email us, and you could have your ornament on display.
Absolutely.
Here in our studio.
You know, I ordered a couple ornaments for our trees.
Oh, did you really?
I didn't bring them today, but they're little cows. Because
course they are.
I think as much cows and Christmas crossover as we can make,
the better.
the better.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say you ordered them and then you mailed them to our P.O. box. So, like, I would think that people really send us ornaments. I'll be like, Eric,
what we got?
43
cow
new
ornaments.
This one's from Steve. He's a really nice guy. He's from Washington.
It's going up. There it is.
It's going up. There goes the first ornament
I
up
like
on
that.
the tree.
I also like that you hung it in frame, which is
Did
good.
I?
Just like that, it's you know, it's sort of like right over your shoulder.
It's right over my shoulder. I want to be reminded all the time of how the Dodgers failed. This hook collapsed. That's a fair word. Yeah, they choked, some might say. So if you're a Dodger and you're listening to this episode, nicely done. Anyway, let's.
I have a question about that because
Oh,
I actually got in a discussion with my wife the other day where I was watching Notre Dame lose, which is one of my teams. So,
Yep.
and then she was asking me to do something, and I was sort of grumpy right after they lost because it was like within 10 minutes of the game ending, she asked me to do something, and I was very grumpy about it. And you know, not to air our dirty laundry here, but she was like, "Why are you so grumpy?" And I was like, "Because Notre Dame lost, and it makes me frustrated for a minute.
Yeah,
like I can't just be like, oh well, even though they stink this year, and like, but they had just lost to Stanford. It was very frustrating.
Right.
So, do you feel like when you have a sports team that loses, and maybe not every game, but big games,
Yeah.
does it? How long do you think it affects you before you're able to sort of like?
Probably too long. But I tried to be really good about it this year because the Dodgers, like baseball is my number one sport, as Eric knows, and anyone who's followed this show for a while knows that like I played baseball for 14 years. I love it. And the Dodgers had an historic season. They won 111 games, which is the most in franchise history. Everyone assumed they were going to the World Series. They're not going to win the World Series. I just had a bad feeling about it going into the playoffs. And I know this isn't a sports podcast, but like, I don't know. I like to be very positive, but I'm very intuitive.
Sure.
And that could be a conflict sometimes when you're like, I know they're going to lose.
Right. You
but
can
like,
feel it.
And then your friend's like, why you got to be so negative? I was like, do you not want me to share my truth? You know, it's sort of like when, let's bring this back to Christmas. So like I run into this sometimes because I'm a very observant person, and you know this drives my wife and my family crazy, is like whenever gifts start to go under the tree, I'm not intentionally trying to guess what they are. It's just if I see a box that is exactly the shape of
something you wanted,
of the new, you know, golf gloves that I wanted or whatever it is, I'm like, oh, there's my golf gloves. Like I'm not
But do you say it out loud, and then does your wife, is Lynn like, you ruined it because you said it?
I do. Yeah.
See, my wife does that to me. I cannot surprise her with anything, whether it be like trips, presents. Inevitably, if I like try to plan something in secret, she'll be like, "Oh, you know what we should do is that thing that I've already planned in secret," or like, "Are we gonna just do this?" And I'm like, yes, but you've ruined it. Like,
I don't want to ruin it.
But she's intuitive too. So.
I don't want to ruin it. Like, it's not intentional. I always say this to my wife. I go, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to ruin the gift. But to her credit, I will say, like, because we've been together for a while now, and she knows the way my brain works, is that she will wrap things in different sized boxes. Smart. or she waits until like Christmas Eve to put all of my gifts out. So that, because our tree is in the living room, it's by the TV. If I'm watching a football game, whatever, I can't keep my eyes from like glancing over under the tree and checking out my tree, and I cannot help the way my brain works. So if you're with somebody like that, or you have that person in your life, I think a strategy, a compromise, as we're always trying to work through, disguise the boxes and make that a part of your Christmas tradition. And rather than looking at it as like, oh my gosh, you always guess what I get, like look at it as an opportunity to trick them.
Yes.
And let me tell you, from someone who has a very curious brain and is very observant, I'm sure it's the same for Lisa, your wife, is that I appreciate that. I so appreciate, I know it's extra work and I don't mean to be extra, but like, I love that, like when I open it, I go, oh my gosh, a whoosie was it? Or a flippity doo, like whatever it is.
That didn't look like the box that I was looking
No,
at.
like I love those, because I love surprising people and I love being surprised. So a little tip.
My family, when we do our sort of big extended family Christmas, we do a white elephant kind of thing.
Okay.
And my uncle one year, which I thought was just the best present, he got like, it must have been a box for like a table or something. It was like a massive box.
Yeah.
Kind of skinny, but like a huge, like 7-foot box, right? And he wrapped it all up. It was clearly the biggest present under the tree in the white elephant.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what is in this huge box? And you picked it up. It felt like there was nothing in it. What he did was, on the inside of the box, he taped like 100 lottery tickets.
Oh,
and
that's
scratch
so
'ems.
cool.
So it was actually a great present.
I love
But he like
that.
totally hid it because it was in this huge box, and you were just like, what is in there?
It's like the wrapping becomes part of the present.
Absolutely.
It becomes
experience.
an experience, which I think we can all agree, like, especially nowadays when so many of us, especially here in the US and obviously more developed countries, we're so fortunate to we have phones, we have TVs, we have, cameras, we have cars, whatever. Like, for me, like, I'm an experiences person. Like, I love things that, like, the phone is whatever. Like, I'll have in my AirPods. I'm grateful when I can go for a run and, like, have like my music in my ears, whatever. But like the moments that you get to create, those memories you get to create with the people you love most, like, I love that. And I'd love to do like a conversation about that at some point this season. I think we were even talking about doing a gifts episode this season. I feel like I've got to have like an experience.
Experiences are up there. My dad one year, my family used to do a grab bag, which was because I had a lot of aunts and uncles.
What is a grab bag?
Grab bag would be if you have a large group of adults and we were all family, obviously, instead of having to buy something for each person, and all the kids all got presents from pretty much everybody, but for the adults, instead of having to buy each other all presents, everybody would pick one name of somebody, another adult in the family, and then you would get them a relatively large gift.
Okay.
I can't remember what the budget was, but probably in the, a few $100 kind of vibe,
Nice.
But my dad one year got my Uncle Dave, and they both love to golf.
Okay.
So my dad gave my Uncle Dave a round of golf at Pebble Beach, which was amazing. But the caveat was he had to bring my dad with him to play said round, which he did. And my dad ended up, my dad golfs like 4 times a week, right? He's a big golfer.
Yeah.
He had the round of his entire life at Pebble Beach.
What a
which
story.
was so cool.
That's
with my Uncle Dave. Yeah,
incredible.
and it was all a Christmas present.
I'm glad you bring up this. So we don't call it a grab bag, but I think I mentioned this to you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And this thing happened in my family last year, because as our family has started to grow, and maybe listeners, viewers out there are dealing with the same thing, is that historically I would get a gift for my brother. I would get a gift for my sister and my folks and my nephews, whatever. But now as the family has grown, we're doing what your family calls a grab bag, where everybody gets assigned a person,
One person,
essentially. So we use this website, I think it's called like drawaname.com or something like that. And everybody goes in, and I'll find the exact website and tell you guys later, but you put in all the names of all the people.
Right.
And then it emails all those people, and then they go to the website and it randomly gives them a person.
Sure.
Now, here's the thing. I understand that as families get larger, it can be hard to get a gift for everybody.
Sure.
But if your love language
Is
gift
gift
giving,
This feels like an attack.
this feels like an attack on me And I get it. Like, I know my family listens to this show, and so please understand, mom, sister,
The comments
brother,
are going to be rolling in.
Oh yeah, my mom's. She texted me this morning actually, saying how sweet it was that I mentioned her on the last episode or the first episode. Now I'm going to get a different message this time, maybe. But here's the thing: like, I totally get it. I know that it's a lot to like go shopping for 8, 10 people on top of your kids. Well, this is my immediate family.
That's true.
And here's the thing: like, it's not because I want them all to get me gifts. I love coming up with creative gifts for people.
Yes.
That's part of the love language situation. So to feel like now I can only express that for one person
feels restrictive.
I feel restricted.
Yes.
And as my wife will attest, I don't like being controlled. I like freedom.
Do you think that you could sort of do the one person that you get assigned, but then do small, just for the sake of your budget, do like small personal gifts for everybody else? Or is that going to break the code and make everybody else in the family feel like, oh, here comes Danny. Danny got a gift for everybody.
Yeah. I know the rule was only one person, but hold on a second.
Hold on to your hats.
Bring a wheelbarrow out of 2 for you.
Yes,
3 for you. You know, we sort of dealt with this a little bit last year because there were things I saw that I was like, I have to get this for my mom. Yeah. Like, I know that she will absolutely love this. I think that's just going to be a part of it moving forward. And, maybe the compromise, for my family who's listening to this, and then families out there who may be dealing with the same thing, and somebody has that love language of gift giving, is maybe there's a compromise. Maybe it's every other year or every 4 years or something like that. You go back to, all right, this year, everybody's getting gifts for everybody. And then for the next 3 years, it'll be like a leap year.
And, you could follow the path of the economy. When we're like heading into a recession, one gift. Everybody's
sorry, everybody.
I'm getting one gift. And then as the economy hopefully starts to get better, everybody's getting gifts again.
Yeah, and if it gets worse, nobody's getting
gifts. Gifts.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to hang out around. Thank God we got a fake tree.
Absolutely.
Because at least we got that. Anyway.
Absolutely.
But that's something, I'm glad you brought that gift back, because it's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I knew I wanted to talk a little bit about. And if you're someone out there whose love language is gift giving like me, maybe try to find a compromise, with your family, or maybe you can say, hey, I know this is something we're doing, but I'd still like to get a little something small for all of you just because I love you so much. And this is one of the ways that I say I love you. I think everyone will understand that, right?
Yes, I think they would. And speaking of gifts, I want to bring this up. I'm going to take my shoe off and I'm going to hold it up to the camera.
I did not expect you to say, speaking of gifts, I'm going to take my shoe off.
Take my shoe off. Now, Danny complimented me on my new shoes when I walked in. This is not an ad. We have no sponsorship.
#, no ad.
#no ad.
Yeah. But
I got this pair of shoes the other day on Amazon. The brand is called Hey Dude.
Hey Dude.
They're starting to become pretty popular. I don't think they are brand new, but this is maybe one of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn.
Yeah.
It's like half a pound, very comfortable. Feel it. It's like,
how many times have you worn these?
For the last week.
Okay, I just didn't want to get it too close to my face.
Too much. Yeah. They're still relatively fresh.
Yeah.
But I was
very
thinking,
light. Jeez.
This is a great shoe. They look cool without being like, Jordans or something like that.
Right.
And they're like $50. So they're not that bad. I was just thinking that I think a lot of times people say men are hard to shop for, right? I don't know what to get my husband. I don't know what to get my dad.
Yep.
I'm telling you, these shoes are a great gift. If you just get their shoe size, they are sort of, the laces are elasticy.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable. I just can't really hype them up enough. I'm totally obsessed with these new shoes.
I'm going to look them up on Amazon to see, do they have other colors?
Tons of other colors.
Oh, look at that.
But they all have this sort of like recycled plastic on the bottom, and then a cool kind of like tweed look on the front, and then a kind of design on the back.
Some are on sale right now.
They're on sale.
Oh my gosh. We should post a link in the episode notes to their page on Amazon so people can go check these out. They sort of look like, I mentioned this when you walked in, I don't know if our listeners are familiar with the shoes Sanuk.
Yes, they're very similar.
Which they say, like, Sanuk's like, these are not shoes.
Right.
These are sandals.
Yes.
Because they feel like you're slipping your foot into like a flip-flop sort of situation. That looks like it has a similar feel.
Very similar. Yeah. Like I love not having to tie laces and
That's cool.
just be able to slide my foot in is great. So if your dad or your husband or your brother, you're like, I just don't know what to get them, this is just an early gift recommendation. Check out these Hey Dude shoes. Again, not
and they
an
have
ad.
them for women too.
And they have them for women as well.
Yeah, equal opportunity. Everybody can get some Hey Dudes. And if you're a kid of the 90s, bonus, every time you wear them, you have to say that. I feel like that's a rule.
Can I tell you, I worked with Christine Taylor.
Who
was
I
on
had such
Hey
a
Dude.
crush on her when I was young.
Yeah, I mean, when we were
Who
kids,
didn't?
like, yeah, absolutely. And it took everything in me to not like say, "Hey, dude." I almost wanted to like walk up to her one day and just be like, "Hey, dude."
Oh my God.
But I didn't. I didn't do it.
And then you would have kept just going and be like, it's a little wild. It's a little strange.
Yes.
When you make your home out on the range, you know what I mean?
Yes. That was a great show.
So get
All
your
right.
horse and come along.
Speaking of media,
Yes.
there's two things that I wanted to talk about that I don't know if you saw, Danny.
I don't know.
One
So much
is
happening.
that Darlene Love, who we love.
Lover. Emphasis on love.
Yes, we love Darlene Love.
Yes.
She has a new song.
Really?
Yes, she has not recorded a new Christmas song in, I believe, 30 years is
my
what I
gosh.
read.
That would have been Home Alone 2, right?
Yes.
Because she did that song. Nobody Wants to Be All Alone on Christmas.
All Alone on Christmas is the last one, yes. There's a guy named Chris Ruggiero. Ruggiero? I don't know.
Ruggie.
Ruggiero.
Oh. Chris.
Yes. This guy is he's a singer, kind of a crooner guy. We probably really like him. And he was doing My Grown Up Christmas List, which is a great Christmas tune. And he apparently reached out to Darlene Love. They had lunch in a Midtown restaurant. And he said, "Do you want to record with me?" And she said, "Yes." And so now she's got a new duet. So if you love Darlene Love like we do, check out her new song with Chris Ruggiero.
Ruggie. Oh. Chris, are you able to pull up a little sample of that song for the people to hear?
Yeah.
And everyone would have a friend, and right would always win, and love would never end.
He's like, "You came for Darlene Love, but you get the Ruggiero."
Yeah, exactly.
This is my
She's gotta come in here, right?
Christmas list.
Darlene.
As children we believe the grandest sight to see was something lovely wrapped beneath our tree. But heaven only knows that packages and bows can never heal a hurting human soul.
So good.
Darlene.
It's so good to hear
30
her.
years later.
Yeah.
Isn't she? I think she's what, early 80s
think
now?
so, yeah.
That's
She's-
amazing to
yeah.
still be able to sing
Yeah.
at that age.
But she has a little bit of that like older woman kind of
Yes.
vibrato. You can hear the history in her voice, which is great.
I just love that story that he reached out to her on Facebook and said, I'm just a fan. And I went and read that article because you shared it with me. And she was saying that like she thought it was so cool that this younger generation is still appreciating artists like her. And so, like you said, they met up at the Palm in Midtown Manhattan, and he wasn't expecting her. He just said, "Hey, I'm doing this
I just
album."
wanted to talk,
Yeah. And then she was like, "Well, we should do a song together."
Yeah.
How cool. And then it's happening. And now I think it drops on November 11th. I want to say the single comes out.
True, yeah.
Really, really cool that Darlene, 30 years later, the Queen of Christmas.
Queen of Christmas.
Some might say.
Some might
is
say.
Still,
Some
is
might
still at it.
loyally say.
Yes, exactly. What else is going on in the world of Christmas media?
Well, there's a movie that really looks pretty cool. This is not for kids. This is definitely an R-rated movie.
Okay.
But David Harbour, who played Sheriff Hopper on
Sheriff,
Stranger
yeah.
Things,
Okay.
he has got a new movie coming out called Violent Night. Obviously a play on Silent Night.
Yeah. Nice
And
pun.
I'm going to read you should check out the trailer, not with your kids, but it says, an elite team of mercenaries breaks into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds, and he's about to show why this Nick is no saint.
Whoa.
It's like an intense. I was telling Danny earlier, it's like John Wick meets Miracle on 34th Street. It really is like the real Santa Claus who's just sort of like I think it's late in the Christmas Eve, so he's already like exhausted. He's got that kind of Bruce Willis, like, oh God, I'm dealing with this crap again, you know?
Right.
And it's pretty intense, but it looks very fun.
I mean, I would love to be that person who gets to write the log lines for Christmas, that this Nick is no saint. Like, you can already hear, like, in a world where Christmas is at risk.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
I love that. I mean, it sounds interesting for sure. I definitely won't be taking my children to see it, as you said. But, it's been a long time since I went to the movie theater in general. Yeah. And I can't remember the last time I went to the movie theater to see a Christmas movie. So that might need to happen.
Yeah.
This season. Because I would love to get out there and see a holiday movie on the big screen. I think that'd be super cool. So there's no new Home Alone movies coming out anytime soon. You know,
not
I gotta
that
take
I've
what
been
I
aware
can
of yet.
Take what I can get. So one more thing before we get to our list. And as you mentioned earlier, we were talking about our top destinations to sort of celebrate the holiday season in our dream world. If we got to go and celebrate the holiday season somewhere, where would it be? Talking about that, I want to talk about Hallmark Channel and talking about movies. So we just kicked off Countdown to Christmas this last weekend. We had 3 incredible movies, one of which was one of my selections in our fantasy league.
It did pretty well.
Which was We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Pretty strong performance coming out of the gate, and a good movie. And we got 3 other movies: Noel Next Door, Kismet Christmas, 3 great movies. And this weekend we're getting 3 more. If you're familiar with fantasy sports, like sometimes you check your lineup like on a Sunday morning, and you're like, gosh, like 7 of my guys are playing at 10 a.m. Yeah, and you're like, I got to come out of the gate strong. Yeah. And our little fantasy league with Hallmark Channel has sort of become the same situation where this weekend, another one of my movies is going to be airing on Saturday night. It's called Jolly Good Christmas.
This one looks good.
It looks jolly good.
It looks jolly good.
Some might say this.
Jolly good.
This takes place in London, and really cool fun fact about this is a lot of times, as Eric knows, as an actor, you might go shoot in Idaho, or you might go shoot in Canada, and they're like, we're really in Germany or something like that, or you shoot on a back lot.
Very rarely are you in the actual place that your characters are living in or experiencing.
But in the case of Jolly Good Christmas, which takes place in jolly old England, they are in England.
Yes, they shot this movie in London, which is amazing. Because there is a certain, like, kind of, not grittiness, but like authenticity to being in an actual city, and especially when the city is kind of a character in the film, which we've been told that this one, London, is a big part of the movie. So we're excited.
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about it. So the log line for this movie is when by-the-book architect David hires free-spirited personal shopper Angie, he finds himself on a wild ride across London in search of the perfect Christmas gift, but finds something he wasn't looking for.
Oh boy.
Now this is interesting. Yes. I selected this movie because, when thinking about our league and all the points that could be scored, I was thinking, okay, he's going to be shopping for a gift, which is really cool. Right. One thing that's interesting though is he's running all over London. He wants to get a gift, but I feel like I thought I read somewhere that the gift was for his girlfriend, but then in the log line it says this thing about he's going to find something he wasn't looking for.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I think him and Angie are going to end up together.
Really?
If they're the 2 people listed in the log line.
Yeah.
They're going to be the lovers.
I guess I just thought that maybe they were going to strike up a friendship.
Maybe that's what it is. It's a holiday friendship movie where this main guy finds out that he is solidly in the friend zone with Angie.
Or he shows up to give the gift to his girlfriend, and he's like, hey, look at this cool chick I met, and I've been hanging out with.
My new best friend. We've spent the whole holiday season together.
Yeah, we've had laughs, we've had cocoa,
right?
All the things. But maybe you're right. I think maybe this girlfriend character, if that is the case, maybe she is not nice. Maybe she's
or
not
maybe doesn't really. Maybe we see something like she's really very mean to him. That could happen.
And maybe she's all about gifts, and the stress about the gift is not so much because he wants to get something thoughtful for her. He's just like worried about how she's going to react.
Yeah.
And maybe through running across town with Angie, he's like, wow, this person is talking more about the person,
right,
and less about the item. Maybe that's at the heart of the story.
I think it could be.
I don't know. And either way, they're going to have a jolly good Christmas. And
Hopefully a lot of British accents.
oh my gosh. I mean, anything that involves a British accent. Why am I talking like Michael Caine?
That was
Why
good.
am I talking like Michael Caine?
You know, it was a little Jason Statham as well.
was it
though.
really?
It was good. It was good.
I don't know why I said anything.
Anything.
I-
Anything.
I kind of went. My dad, whenever he does a British accent, he will always count.
One,
And it goes on, 2,
three,
3.
4. Well, there is that
Like, what are
one.
you, Dad?
There
You're a
is that
dock
one.
worker in Northern England.
There is that one British accent that is a regional accent within the UK that I don't know what it is, but it is a sort of it sounds like a speech impediment, but it's just the accent where it has that very sort of like I'm trying to think what they say. They'll be like if I said let's get a tree for Christmas. Let's get a tree for Christmas. Like they put the W instead of R for stuff. It's very interesting.
I hope we get some of that and jolly
I hope so,
good
too.
Christmas. I hope Michael Caine makes a surprise.
That'd be
appearance.
great.
And all he's going to do is he's going to walk in, and they're going to go, "Wait, is that?" And he goes, "I'm Michael Caine." And then he just walks away, and that's it. Anyway, the movie is this Saturday night, 8 o'clock, 7 Central. Check it out, Hallmark Channel. This is just the start of Countdown to Christmas, folks. And if you're wondering what this fantasy league is that we're talking about, go to our Instagram page. There's a video on there where Eric and I draft our teams. We talk a lot about this fantasy league. If you're interested in being a part of it, DM us or shoot us an email. We know that some people have already selected their teams. Yes. They've submitted their lineup, and points are being scored, and there's going to be a winner.
We should. I was thinking about this. We should clarify for people in case they're keeping track at home.
Okay.
So let's say the thing on the scorecard is a funny neighbor, right? Now, we're not going to get a point each time the neighbor is on screen. You get
Correct.
1 point for the thing happening. But if it's kissing, if it's an action, do you get it for each time that it happens?
That's a great.
Or or is it like once you get kissing, that's your kissing point?
I think if there's different kissing locations, like
Sure.
a kiss
not
is a
like
kiss.
in a scene and they like kiss and then talk and they kiss and then talk. You don't get
you
multiple points there.
get the 1 point for that, but if they kiss
They go to somewhere else and kiss?
in front of the mistletoe,
Right.
that's points for that.
Yeah.
Different
locations, actions can happen multiple times.
Yes.
If they're different locations.
Yes.
Or different scenes, we should say.
Yes.
But like characters that are on screen, that's one and done.
Correct.
Once they're in the film, that's
They're
it.
done. Check the box.
You
move
don't get
on.
more points.
But if it's an action, like say there's a scene where they're wrapping gifts,
Right.
And in the course of that scene they wrap 4 gifts, to me you get that point value x4.
I think. But is it going to be so? That's per gift. Do we have to see a full wrapping? Just a bow?
I don't know. I feel like we're
getting
setting
in the
up a
weeds here.
situation where there's going to be a lot of continuity issues. Just the more points, the better.
Yes.
How about we just subscribe to that? And whenever these things happen, the person is a one thing done. But any action type thing, that's fair game. As many times as it happens,
I love it.
Because when you think about Kismet Christmas, like I feel like I know Kismet is a word, but I also feel like it might be a play on words.
I think so.
They're gonna kiss when they meet, so that sort of thing. Anyway, check out Hallmark Channel's Countdown to Christmas. It is happening all the way up until December 18th. And join our league because we're having a ton of fun with everyone who's a part of it.
All right, folks, it is time to get into our countdown.
Yes.
We're very excited about this one. This is a good one.
When are we ever not?
I know. We are excited about all the countdowns. This is going to be top 5 destinations to experience Christmas in or at, I guess you would say. I'm not sure the correct preposition.
However you want to say it.
However you want to say it. These are the places that you would go if you had unlimited money and time and you could just bring your whole family and like spend a holiday season in one of these locations. What would you choose? So let's get into the countdown, shall we?
I'm so excited for this.
All right, this is exciting. I'm going to start us off here. This is a selection that is the most out of the box that I have of my 5.
Okay.
And it's going to be Key West, Florida.
Whoa.
Key West, Florida for Christmas.
Really?
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
I have spent a fair number of Christmas seasons in Florida because
Okay.
my wife is from Florida, so her whole family lives in Orlando. My parents now live in Florida, so we've spent a lot of Christmas times down there. Florida at Christmas it grew on me. When I first started going, it felt wrong. It felt like there's no snow. There's less of the like cozy feeling. Even in LA where it gets not super cold, there's a little chill in the air. You kind of got to put a jacket on, right? And still experience a little sense of the chill of the season, right? But Florida, it's not that. It might be 95 degrees on Christmas Eve. What I've grown to love, though, is the sort of like, palm trees wrapped in Christmas lights is such a great look.
Yeah.
There's something about like flamingos and alligators with like Christmas lights and Santa hats that I just have grown to love.
Right.
And Key West is sort of the most Florida-y of all of Florida. And so I've been to Key West before, never at Christmas, but I've been there near the holidays and seen they really do it right in Key West. There's a lot of light stuff. There's a lot of things to do, the regular things you would experience in Key West. But they also have light tours by train and by boats.
I was going to ask about the boat thing.
Yeah. Boats at Christmas time is really great. I've seen a fair number of boat Christmas parades where people just deck out their boats, sailboats with Christmas lights all the way up the sail and the mast. It's awesome. So Key West for me is going to be my number 5 selection.
That's amazing. If I'm going to be the Kevin McAllister here, I'd be like, Florida for Christmas? Like,
Yeah.
I totally commiserate with that. Like, I think we posted a poll about this a while back on our Instagram about like, are you like a winter like Wonderland type person at Christmas, or do you like to sort of like what do they call those snowbirds who like to escape and go to like Hawaii or Florida, Arizona, or whatever for the holiday season? I don't know, something about it, but you make it sound magical.
It's got a kind of like cheesy, kind of almost tacky kind of feeling that is somehow enjoyable, if that makes sense. Like,
it totally makes sense.
It's something about like, I used to go to a place that sadly, I don't even know, I haven't heard yet, but after the hurricane, it was on Sanibel Island called the Bubble Room. And it was this amazing restaurant that they had a whole Christmas room that was up all year round. And all the tables have tchotchkes in, like, they're like glass tables, and you can see all the stuff. The walls are covered with stuff and Christmas lights and trains and Santa Clauses and movie props, and it's like this amazing place. But all of Florida has that same kind of like, it's just kind of cheesy and leans into what it is, as opposed to trying to make it feel like New York or a Vermont where it's like cozy and warm. They lean into like, we're in flip-flops and shorts, but we got our Santa hats on.
That's great. I love it. I always wonder, thinking about, because for us who are in the Northern Hemisphere, we just think of the winter, Christmas being a cold time, but so many people who are, close to the equator or in the Southern Hemisphere, like New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, whatever, those are their warm weather months, and it's interesting, like, I was, doing all this research about celebrating the holidays around the world, and it's just so different when you think about their experience
being warm.
So I just mailed something yesterday to one of our Patreon supporters who lives in Australia, and I was just thinking about like how different his experience is right now and will continue to be for the next couple of months, but still is a huge fan of the show and got himself a sticker and a magnet just for joining our Patreon.
I love that.
So if you want some cool merch, click that link in the episode notes, baby. Anyway, okay, so moving on. My number 5, and we should say this is a top 5.
Yes.
This week or this episode. So my 5, and I feel like my list contains a lot of places that I have not celebrated the holidays.
Sure.
Growing up in Southern California, like I've always been home for the holidays. Even the years I lived in New York, I always came home for the holidays. So for me, social media, the internet has become this sort of like cornucopia of options in terms of like what's happening out in the world. And so my number 5 is a place that I found on Instagram. It's Nuremberg, Germany. So as we know, a lot of Christmas traditions come from Germany.
Yes.
And so for me, the idea of like going to Germany and seeing how they celebrate the holiday, being in a space where there's this old architecture. Like to me, when I think of Christmas, we talk about this all the time on the show, is like we talk about nostalgia, we talk about traditions. And for me, like traditions feel more authentic when they're happening in old places.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can feel the history of them. You can feel that, as opposed to Florida, where it feels very just smack it with some paint and make it new.
Right.
Like if you experience it in Germany, you feel that your great grandparents could have been in that town or something, and like, oh Tannenbaum, right? Like they had these experiences, and it feels connected.
Yeah, and I've never been to Germany before. It's definitely on my list of places I want to go. But they have like one of the world's largest Christmas markets. It's called the Nuremberg Kindles Market. It's one of the oldest and one of the most famous. If you look up these pictures, and I'm sure we'll post some photos on our social media, like the look of this market, it's just like you've got all these booths that are serving food. They're selling knickknacks. It looks like a carnival, like on steroids.
So many lights.
And maybe the reason like this appeals to me is because I love carnivals.
Yes.
And when I see these Christmas markets, they just look like two things that are like my favorite things in the world rolled into one.
Yes.
Christmas and a carnival. Yes. Like these markets will have, rides and all these snacks, and it's just like everyone's bundled up because it's the winter, and it's like it's so different from what I know that the thought of experiencing it just sounds so incredibly magical to me. I would love to try some of these sweet treats, like, the gingerbread they have there. They have speculacious almond cookies.
Ooh.
I know, just that word alone sounds like something I want to try. I want to go have some some sausages, some bratwurst, all the things that are so traditional to Germany, and to do it at the holiday season, I think would just be absolutely incredible. So that's why it comes in at number 5 for me. And if you're interested or you're going to Germany, it looks like the market opens November 25th and runs all the way up until it looks like December 24th of this year.
Not on Christmas though.
No.
They stop. You got to be home for Christmas.
You got to be home for Christmas. Exactly.
I like that.
All right.
I saw one of these I don't know if it was a post that we had made through our account or if I had seen it somewhere else, that it was like one of those Christmas markets, but it looked like everyone was ice skating between the stations.
Yeah.
Like the whole floor of this big market was like ice and everyone was on skates. I remember seeing it, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so I wasn't sure what the exact destination was, but it could have been Germany.
Me too. I'm still
Or
trying
Canada,
to figure
I'm not
out
sure.
where it is. A lot of times I do my best to figure out, we post a lot of reels on our Instagram of like, the holidays being celebrated around the world. And I do my best to figure out where these places are. And some of them I just can't figure out. And I know that one you're talking about. It's this like big overhead shot.
That is
and it's like panning left to right. And it's like, it looks like there's like a carousel. And it's just this ice skating rink sort of weaves all around it. And you're like, where in the world is this? So if you live in that place, go to our Instagram, find this reel we're talking about, and let us know where this is at. Because a lot of what I've put on my list is simply places I found on Instagram that I'm just like, I want to spend a week.
I want to go to there.
I want to escape in my Christmas sweaters and just escape into this fantasy world for a week or 10
Love
days.
it.
But anyway, moving along.
My number 4 selection is a place that I have celebrated Christmas in only once.
Okay.
But it was this past Christmas. I think it was this past Christmas. Yeah, it was 2021's Christmas. And that is New England.
Ooh.
I was there in Boston shooting my show, Kevin Can F Himself.
Yeah.
And we were there over the holidays, and we went full out. Okay. Even though we were renting a house and we were only going to be there for like another month, we went full out and bought all the decorations that we could to like deck out the house. We didn't do outside lights, but we tried to make everything inside as cool as we could.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, we went to like the dollar store and just got like the cheapest little, Christmassy stuff, but we put it everywhere. So it really felt
amazing.
Great. And there's something about, I think what we'll find in a lot of these lists for both of us is anything that gives you that kind of cozy, traditional feeling seems right for Christmas. And that's something that New England really had for me when I was there. I loved the fall in New England and seeing those leaves change in
incredible.
person. It was one of those things that I remember hearing about people being like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to New England for the weekend to see the leaves change." And I'm like, "Wait, you're flying somewhere to look at leaves?" And I was like, "That's insanity." But then once I experienced it for myself, I was like, "This is legit. Like this is life-changing to really be in the thick of New England as those leaves change, and then as it starts to snow, it is magical." We just had such a great Christmas last year, and experiencing it in New England, and sort of, we were living in Scituate, Massachusetts, which is on the South Shore.
Scituate kid.
And but anywhere in New England, I think if you were going up to Vermont would be great, Maine would be great, Boston proper is great, the South Shore is great. All of that whole kind of, fishing village, warm pea coat with like a knitted hat and mittens, and sort of like trudging through the snow. It just all feels really right and good to me. So that's my number 4 selection is New England.
So good. You touched on something. I was just in Colorado a couple weeks ago, and again, growing up in Southern California and not spending huge amounts of time in other parts of the country other than New York, we don't get seasons here, really. It's like, which some people are like, God, give me that. Like, I would love for it to be 75 and warm and not raining every single day. But when I was in Colorado a couple weeks ago for work, I was walking back to my hotel one night, and I noticed that all of the leaves were turning. Mm-hmm. And there's something about that signal that, like, it triggers something inside of you.
Absolutely.
It's the wildest thing, and I feel like it's something we're sort of deprived of here in Southern California, is we don't have a signal of things are changing.
Yes.
Because it's so similar all the time.
But it also has the negative effect a lot of times after Christmas or after New Year's, that people get the depression of winter, So there's sort of that beautiful fall, oh, things are changing, it's the holidays, but then you also have the fall. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
In the dead of winter, which we don't get in California.
It's a fair point.
So
it's like they say, if the grass is greener on the other side, maybe water the grass on your side.
That's good. Yes.
So anyway, moving right along to number 4. Speaking of places where leaves turn and they experience seasons, I'm going with one of my most beloved cities in the world, New York City.
Absolutely.
I think New York City at Christmas time, I've never actually celebrated Christmas in New York, but when I lived in New York back in 2011, 2012, I was there up until I think the week before Christmas. I've gone back around the holiday season in the past for work-related things. Mm-hmm. There's just, New York's a magical city. Like I always say to people, like my heart is in Southern California, but my soul is in New York.
That's good.
I'll never forget getting off. I'd taken the ferry from Jersey over to Midtown the first time I went to New York, and then I got off the shuttle bus in Midtown. And I just remember the first time I stepped off that bus and felt the city. Anyone who's been there,
it hits you like a bus.
It's alive.
Yeah.
You hear people talk about like, oh, the city has a pulse. This city is alive.
Yeah.
You cannot understand what that means until
you
you're there. And I think people have one of two reactions. They're like, yes, or
too much.
Nope. I'm going back to my hotel right now, and I'm never come back to the city ever again. But New York at the holidays, and really that pocket of like late October through Christmas, like when Central Park, when you're able to get a view, whether you're walking through the park or you're like up above, like in a hotel or whatever, and just looking out over that vast park in the middle of the city, and you start to see those leaves turn, it's like you feel like you are being transported in this like capsule on this island where you're just like, everything's going to be magical for the next month and a half. Yeah. And then it's going to get really cold and, and it's going to suck for a little while. But when you see the tree in Rockefeller Center, when I was living there, my mom came out to visit and we went and saw the tree lighting. And I'll never forget that experience as long as I live, counting down and then watching those lights come up, standing there on that landing above the ice skating rink and watching these people skate around, and the Christmas music is in the air. And it's not just like, oh, that one spot. It's like, oh, then you walk out onto 6th Avenue and they've got all the, the big decorations that are in the fountains that are there, like the big stack of ornaments and the big oversized Christmas lights. It's like the city just leans into this Christmas spirit. And, I'll never forget going to see the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. I think I maybe told that story on season 1, but I was out there for to help my friend move from New York to LA, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can get tickets to the show because I'd never seen it, and they were on the board at TKTS, and I bought the tickets, and I'd never been to Radio City before, so I didn't know what.
That's an experience as well.
Well, my God, it's like the biggest theater I've ever been in my life, and I walk up to our door and I hand the ticket to the guy, and he goes, oh, good seats. And I was like, okay. And we just kept walking and walking and walking and walking till we were in the front row.
That's awesome.
We were row A on the aisle,
That's
center
amazing.
aisle. And I got the tickets for like $69 or something like that. And so at the beginning of the show, the orchestra comes up out of the pit, and I couldn't see anything because I was like, oh, these are why these tickets are cheap. The orchestra's going to block me the whole time. Then they finished their song and they went back down.
Yep.
And I was like, oh no. I'm going to have front row seats for this whole show. And it's just like watching the Rockettes perform. It is like quintessential holiday celebration. And there's just something magical. It being in the jacket and the scarf, like you were saying, and the gloves. It's a 360 experience where it's not just what you're seeing, it's the sounds, it's the smells, it's the feel, the sensation. And that's why for me, New York has to be there. At number 4 on my list.
Love it. All right, my number 3 is a place I've never been, and I only recently found out about.
Okay.
But through Instagram and TikTok, I've seen a bunch of videos and pictures of this place. It looks awesome. The place is called Leavenworth, Washington.
Yes.
It's like 2 hours from Seattle, apparently.
Yes.
I'm going to read you a little snippet here from one of the Travel Channel websites. It says, the Bavarian mountain town in Washington state is so picture perfect, you'll feel like you've stepped inside a snow globe. It is the epitome of Christmas with a Nutcracker Museum, sleigh rides, and a reindeer farm where you can feed them. So there's lights everywhere. They have actual reindeer, like in the town, that you can go and feed, which is amazing. They have these sleigh rides that are like a big, massive sleigh. Like if you have kids and you've watched Frozen, the like sleigh that Kristoff drives,
Yes.
it's like one of those, like a huge sleigh, and it's being pulled by, a bunch of beautiful big horses. You can drive snowmobiles. They have a Nutcracker Museum. They have winter brews, and they of course also have a Christmas kind market, is how it's spelled. Chris Kind Market. That's what it is. Chris Kind Market.
I love that.
Which is a German market for Christmas. It just looks amazing. They also have a huge place called the Icicle Creek Center for the Arts. So they have Christmas shows going if you want to do something like that. It looks awesome. And it looks like a place that leans into the season, which we obviously love anything that's going to do that. 100%. And I liked it says that it runs from November through February. So even if you can't get in at Christmas, you can go post-Christmas to sort of brighten your mood.
Road trip.
Yes.
I'm in 100%. I saw that on Instagram as well. It's like, it sort of looks like a Bavarian village, right? Like all year long.
All
right?
year long. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of like, there's also, have you ever been to Solvang?
Solvang, yeah.
Yeah. Here in, so it's kind of central Southern California, but that's like a Danish town. And I love these little towns in America where they're like, we're going to recreate a German town or a Danish town or whatever, and we're just going to do it. And if you don't like it, you can live somewhere else. But this town is going to be a recreation of a European town.
I feel like we need to take a trip to Solvang this holiday season.
And they do Christmas right as well.
Yeah.
It almost made my list.
Really? Yeah. I've never been at the holiday season.
I haven't either, but I've seen pictures and it looks great.
Okay, well, done doing it. All right, moving right along to number 3 for me. This is a space, again, thank you, social media. Social media can have a lot of things that are negative about it, but it can also connect you to the world and get you to, see places you never would have known otherwise. There is this place that I have seen so many photos and videos of this place on social media, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it. It is Quebec City in Canada. You've probably seen this if you look up like Christmas themed stuff on Instagram, and there's a lot of photos of this one like sort of boulevard. It's a very narrow street, and there's just people walking everywhere, and there's like these old like wooden signs like hanging off the sides of buildings, and the ground is covered in snow, and people are all like huddled together walking around. I'm going to read this directly from the website, for Quebec City. They say Quebec City's holiday season is simply magical. It's lights, decorations, and snow that create an enchanting setting like no other within Old Quebec. Starting at the end of November, Old Quebec is transformed into a real Christmas village, just like out of a Charles Dickens novel. No wonder CNN ranked Quebec City among the world's top 15 destinations for celebrating the holidays. I mean, Eric, you look at these photos and it looks
It's like a painting, like a Norman Rockwell painting of like what Christmas should look like.
it looks like a world or a land you would walk into at like a theme park.
Yeah.
Like if you went to the Wizarding World at
Christmas time, yeah.
at Christmas time, but it's real.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay to get a ticket. You
Right.
just show up and go, and they have all of these shops. They have all these sort of events. There's a parade that goes on there. I don't speak French, but I'm going to do my best. La Parade de Juillet. I don't know.
That was
if
pretty
that's right.
good.
Was that good?
Yeah.
It's their Christmas parade, which happens out there. It just looks absolutely incredible. There's tons of music, all the things. And if you go look up this place, please just go Google Quebec City Christmas, and you're going to see the most stunning images you have ever seen in your life. And that's what's so fun about this list, is that it's really given me the opportunity to sort of dream of places.
Yeah.
It's not so much like places I've been that I'm I had a great time there. It's I'm dreaming of the time that I would have there, and I'm putting it out into the universe that it's going to happen.
Yes. Anyway. Do you know in Quebec, I know they speak French, but do they also speak English? Are they bilingual? Do you know, Chris?
They do speak English there. I've been to Quebec City a bunch of times. It's definitely you feel like you're in Europe when you're there. It's incredible. It's super nice.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Got to do it on
Gotta
the
do
list.
it.
It's
All right.
happening. All right, moving along.
All right, here we go. My number 2 selection is the city that I most want to go to in the entire world.
Okay.
Regardless, let alone just at Christmas. And it's shocking that I believe we talked about this maybe on the last episode. I've never been to London. And I love everything British and everything about the city of London and the country of England and all of that. And my travels have never brought me there. Yeah. But London at Christmas looks amazing.
Yeah.
It looks like, obviously, similar to some of the big cities in America where, there's lights everywhere, there's ice skating rinks, there's Christmas markets. But then there's also something about British Christmas traditions that I love. Maybe it's because of watching Love Actually too many times, but I love the idea of, the little paper crowns at Christmas time. And I love, Harry Potter, movies being played and sort of the Christmas aspect of that whole vibe. I want to go to London so badly for any reason at all, but especially at Christmas would be the most amazing time to go. So,
You know who you might run into there?
Who's that?
Angie.
That's right. Angie might be there.
Unless she's moved back
Very possible.
with her book writer, Bo.
That's
We
right.
don't know, or not book writer, I guess he's an architect.
Architect.
Yeah, that's right. It is magical, and I may be talking about it here momentarily. London at the holidays. I've never been at Christmas, but I've been in sort of the season of Christmas, and it is pretty darn magical. Okay, so my number 2 is a place that honestly I didn't know existed in the world until probably a month or 2 ago. So I want to thank social media for introducing this next place to me. There was a user on TikTok who posts tons of videos of this place, not just in the winter, but in other times. But at wintertime, this place, Lapland, Finland, looks like it looks like the North Pole.
That's awesome.
And they consider Lapland to be Santa Claus's home. You can go there, you can meet him. It is all the way up in northern Finland. It's in the Arctic Circle.
Whoa.
When you look up videos and photos of this place,
Yeah.
you legitimately feel like if you were walking around, like Santa Claus might just come walking out of a door like he was going to grab himself like a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And like just came walking out of his favorite coffee. Like it feels like Santa's village.
Yeah.
Is really what it feels like. They have these reindeer, much like you were talking about with the sled thing out in Washington and Leavenworth. They have a similar thing in Lapland where they actually, because this is like, I think their natural habitat for reindeer. Yeah. They're out there, they're walking around, they're pulling sleds. It's just like, go to our Instagram page or just go to Instagram and look up Lapland, Finland, and you are going to see some imagery that is going to absolutely blow your mind. Like you can mail letters to Santa in Lapland. Awesome. You can meet the elves and enjoy a festive experience. And I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Rovaniemi, which is the official hometown of Santa Claus. And like he's got like the cavern that Santa Claus lives in. You can do snowmobiling. There's winter adventures. They've also obviously I think they get the Northern Lights up there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything about this place, it's just like, take me there, drop me off for 2 weeks, and I will be so massively merry. So I've never been, and hopefully when I go, it lives up to the expectation, because this imagery that I have seen has just absolutely made me fall in love with this place.
That's a good one. I love how northern it is.
So far.
If you look, because I just looked at it on a map, it is definitely within the Arctic Circle. It's about as north as you can get without being at the pole.
Yeah, it sort of makes me think of just the movie with Klaus. Did you end up watching that?
Yeah.
Where like he gets sent off to this like island all the way up in the north, and there's this guy who lives out in the woods. That's sort of, I wonder if that was the inspo.
Maybe.
For we'll have to look that up.
Yeah, that was a good flick though. You told me about that.
That was so good.
All right, so we're to my number one selection. This is a place that I have spent Christmases in, and I just don't think that it can be beat. It just is. It's New York. New York City at Christmas is just perfect. It's all the things that we've talked about earlier in this list. It's the lights. It's Radio City. It's the tree. It's the tree lighting. It's the ice rinks, both in Rockefeller Center and in Central Park. Yeah. It's the shows that are happening. It's the fact that like Broadway does extra shows, so Broadway's even more like kicking and alive. It's the Christmas specials that are being filmed, and it's just all of those things. The restaurants all lean into the season. There is that, we sort of have talked about it before, that Christmas brings that feeling of people are just a little nicer and they just smile a little bit more. And it's true. New York gets that. New York sort of has this, reputation for being hard and, gritty and everything. But at Christmas, it really lightens up. It really has a feeling of like help your fellow man kind of vibe. And it just, there's something about waking up with some snow in your backyard in New York, or like going sledding with my kids in Central Park was like one of the greatest memories I've ever had.
Sounds incredible.
Going ice skating with my kids and my wife in Central Park. We just have so many great Christmas memories. We used to always, when we lived on 85th Street, we would go, and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, they line it all up on Central Park West, and where it would end, so where Santa was, because he ends the parade, was right at the end of 85th Street of our block. So we would go down before the parade was starting, and we'd see Santa in his sleigh, and it was really great. My maybe most favorite picture that I have with my daughter was in this little apartment that we had in New York, and it's at Christmas time. I have like a red plaid robe on. She's got like a little, turquoise little robe, and we're dancing. She's like standing on my feet, and we're like dancing to Christmas music right in front of the tree, and the lights are kind of shimmering off the walls. It just is. I love Christmas in New York more than anything, and so New York City can't be beat.
Do you think you like it so much because like when you think of like Christmas, your children were they were young and they were growing
formidable
up. Formidable ages where you were creating these memories, like that photo you got, with Sophie and all that. Like, do you think it holds a special place in your heart because it's like the early childhood memories of your kids at the holiday season?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think, it is its own thing, but it's the reason it's number one for me is that, had we spent most of our Christmases in Chicago or out here in LA even. I think we've spent probably more Christmases in New York because we lived there for 2 years, there another year, and there another year for when I was doing Elf. Like, we've spent at least 4 or 5 Christmases in New York of my daughter's, 12-year-old life. So it's about, half and half. It's just the best. And I think those memories and the experiences with my kids, and even with Lisa before we had kids, living in New York and sort of having those experiences of being a young married couple and living in New York it's just spectacular.
Yeah, I love that story you told of when you guys got your Christmas tree down in Union Square, right? And then you took it on the train.
We took it on the train all the way up to 181st Street or 191st Street, and we also got that tree on Thanksgiving night. So it was we were like the first people to buy a tree, and we carried it right on the 19 train, and everybody was like, "The tree smells so good," and other people were like, "It's not Christmas time yet," but it was good.
That's so cool. Yeah, and I ask you that because, I'm looking at my list here, and I had a location at number 1, which was London. I love London. In general, I love London. Like, it's just one of those places that just I feel connected to, and I've seen it lit up at the holiday season. But hearing you talk about New York, hearing you sharing about why it's so special to you, it's made me think about like what destinations are most special to me around the holiday season. And I think as I get older, and I'm sure many people around the world experience this, is that like we have those big dreams of the places we want to go. Like, I would love to celebrate the holidays in Germany and Canada and Finland and see these places and see how other people decorate for the holidays. But what I'm realizing more and more every day, and you sharing your story about New York, makes me realize that the number one destination that I want to celebrate Christmas is at home. Yes. Like, for me, though, as I shared earlier, California is what it is, especially Southern California, where I've grown up and spent, I think, every Christmas morning in my life I've spent in Southern California. But also, I can't think of a bad Christmas morning that I've spent in Southern California. And especially now, over the last few years, now that I have, kids of my own, and, my wife and I talk about this a lot. I'm always like, I want a white Christmas, and she's like, are you thinking about packing up all the gifts? Are you thinking about all the things that we're going to have to do to like make Christmas morning happen and make it special for our kids? And the truth of the matter is, no, I hadn't thought about those things. I was so wrapped up in like my vision of what would make a great Christmas, but my vision of what makes a great Christmas isn't just about me anymore. And more so, it's about my children. And to be able to get that photo in our living room, year after year, I'll get choked up talking about it, of like watching our kids grow up, and sitting in front of our fireplace, in front of our tree. Like, that's special, And so I think it's a reminder, and I'm grateful that you talked about New York in the way that you did, because I was going to go big and bold and, other side of the world, and let's see it all, baby, which is still a part of who I am. But like, my priorities have shifted. And I think a lot of us, I'm sure a lot of our listeners feel that as well, is that, and it can be uncomfortable at times, right? To watch your priorities shift. You're like, I'm changing. Yeah. It's like the Grinch, you're like when your heart grows, like, I think we assume that like when our heart grows that like it's an easy, happy experience, but sometimes it can be challenging because you feel everything so much more. And so like, I think for me, I was like, I'll pick London because that's safe. But really my heart tells me home. Like, that's the number one destination for me, is wherever home is, wherever my kids are, wherever my wife is, wherever my folks are, that's where I want to be. So anyway, I didn't expect to shed any tears in this episode.
This is a strong ending. I love it.
Alas, here we are. So if you're feeling that call to just be home, don't feel like you have to go somewhere. Don't feel like you have to be rushing all the time. Chris sent us a message the other day that really connected with me. He said, like, I talked about like, here we go. And he was like, enjoy it because it's going to go by so fast. Yeah. And like, it really stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've been doing so much build up to season 2 of this show and all our social media, that like life has become so centered around Christmas that the next 9 weeks could explode by, and I might find myself on New Year's being like, I didn't even feel Christmas. Right. And so I wanted to sort of make that active change here and, and lean into like what Christmas is about. And I would encourage everybody out there to do the same, because those are the moments we love. And those are the moments that connect.
And I think that, these places that we've talked about, if any of the reasons that we picked them resonate with you, look about it seems to be less about, I actually want to be in Key West or London or whatever. It's more about the feeling that those places give you. And anything like that can be recreated at home.
Truth.
And so if you are somebody who's saying, oh man, I wish I could travel, but I don't have the money for it or the time or whatever reason you can't travel, find the things that you would want to travel for and try to recreate them at home. Look for whether it's, doing a tradition from England if you really wish that you could go to London, or if it's, if you like a Florida Christmas, finding some, flamingos to put in your front yard with your Christmas decorations, whatever it is, find those things that bring out the emotions, because obviously that's the best part of the holidays.
That's what makes it Christmas. That's the spirit of Christmas.
Absolutely.
That's the spirit of this show.
Absolutely. And I think had we had a fantasy football countdown for this, you would have got points right there.
Oh, you think? Oh,
that
for
was
tears?
That'd be like finding the true meaning of Christmas.
Oh my
God. It was great. It was so
It'd be
good.
fun if there are listeners out there who are like actually doing their own fantasy league on the side, and they're like,
of us.
Every time Danny cries, we get a point. That's funny.
All right, folks. So that was episode 203. Just so you know, it is now 62 days until Christmas. The day that this comes out, 62 days. We are getting closer and closer. Make sure you come back for our next episode, which is going to be top 5 traditions at Christmas.
Yes.
From other places. Traditions from other places.
Correct.
We're sort of keeping this week is all
Worldwide.
global. Worldwide, baby. So make sure you rate and review us. Follow us on all the social media. Check out our website, ChristmasCountdownShow.com. You can see some merch stuff there. Join the Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting us, for listening, and we will see you on the next one. But before we do, we always say, Merry Christmas.
And happy holidays.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.